Welcome back to Koenigsegg'S Dagbok and welcome to episode 5 where we'll be talking about Koenigsegg's one and only racing unicorn, and that is the Ccgt as you see right before you. And yes guys, this is a one of one, and this thing was actually crafted as a passion project by Christian and his engineers, and this thing was actually crafted during the downtime of the production run. And this thing was actually unveiled at the 2007 Geneva Motor Show. And this thing was in fact based on the CCR along with a couple of aspects taken from the CCX, such as the headlights and the taillights. And this thing was conceived to compete in the ACO Le Mans GT1 category. And this thing was a proper track weapon because this thing produced over 600 kilograms of downforce, and coming from a brand new or relatively new marquee that had just entered the automotive industry. And this thing abided by all the regulations, such as the car had to be less than 2 meters wide, the cockpit had to take up over 70% of the width of the car, and it had to weigh in at 1100 kilograms. But in typical Koenigsegg fashion, it weighed at less than that, so they had to add ballast to it, and it in fact met all the regulations. And this thing was actually the first ever Koenigsegg to feature their 5-liter naturally aspirated V8 motor that produced over 600 horsepower, and that was paired to a 6-speed sequential transmission by SEMA with paddles. And this thing being a track weapon means that it had the double wishbone push-rod suspension along with highly adjustable shock absorbers, which actually paved the way for what we know today as the Koenigsegg triplex suspension. But nevertheless, a proper track weapon, one of one. But it's a one of one due to the fact that this thing actually never competed in any race, and that is because after 2 months of the first shakedown runs of the CCGT began, the ACO and the FIA completely changed the regulations where carbon fiber monocoques were no longer allowed, and the minimum production numbers went from 20 cars over several years to 350 cars per year, hence cutting it for the CCGT's racing potential. But nevertheless, this thing is a one-of-one unicorn, and Koenigsegg in fact wanted to get into racing as part of the larger picture, of course, but they sadly never made it. But from the couple of people who have in fact driven this car, every single one of them have said that this thing would definitely have been competitive on track because this thing handled really well. But sadly that never came to fruition. But nevertheless, this thing in fact actually sold at the Bonham's auction at the Goodwood Festival of Speed in 2023, and this thing sold for 3.3 million pounds. But nevertheless guys, it's a one-of-one Koenigsegg and without dihedral synchrohelix actuation doors. Anyways, what do you guys think? Leave in the comments below. Thanks for watching guys. Remember to hit that sub button and click the bell to ensure you don't miss out on any future videos. Thanks for watching guys. See ya. Stay tuned for episode 6.